This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded May 26th, 2014, episode 200, Joined Junk Jocularity.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
Back home in Cleveland.
You know, there's no place like home lab, home basement lab.
Right, so your lab
Cave.
your lab wasn't that great, but yeah, it was probably usable, right? You could survive
usable,
on it.
yeah.
But,
You
yeah.
know, so hopefully this will be less. We talked about this, 3 weeks straight now, but actually
Yeah,
it
exactly.
did get put to use. But the interesting thing about it was actually not, it's always the things you never expect. The tough part was that I didn't have time for it. I mean,
right, of course.
I think
yeah.
I think that would be really useful if it was like, I don't even know a lot of things. Like if it was like a very fixed schedule type of job, it's like 9 to 5 every day,
yep.
and then you have this big chunk of time you're in a hotel room. That's what it
Got
would
it.
be really good for. But because I was out there, I was like, well, I want to maximize my time out here and meet people and meet
Of
up
course.
for dinner and
Yep.
and talk about their work and stuff like that. And so it was kind of a struggle, to be honest.
Welcome to my world. I've got time
Yeah.
to do everything else but electronics,
Right, of course, right.
Yeah.
Past that, the lighting was actually really shitty. I should have known better. So
Right.
I was dependent on
Lighting
hotel
from
room
what?
lighting.
In terms of soldering or recording video, because you've got specific requirements to record video, whereas other people wouldn't.
That's
right?
true. Actually, soldering as well. Really, I should.
Yeah.
I had like a little LED one that I could plug into my laptop. One of those like little gooseneck mics. But really,
yeah,
if I'm going to keep using this thing, I needed to design it in. And to be honest,
Yep.
I mean, the Bench Buddy that I'm working on has that, but since it's not done yet, I don't have anything to plug into it yet. So, kind of just
Right.
making all these having like little modules. I think we talked last week about having separate power modules and stuff like
Uh-huh.
that. Basically, I just need to trick out the rest of this if I really want to do it. So, lighting
Right.
was one thing, and then like you said, I mean, cameras. Actually, the camera stuff was difficult simply because now I've built my own like flying camera rig. It's hard to go back. to
Yeah,
having
it's hard to
something
go
right
back.
there, so.
Right. Yeah.
But that's most people don't care about that probably.
Yeah. I've got to do that today, actually. I've got to move my overhead lights back because they're too far forward and the angle reflects down off the product I'm reviewing and onto the camera, So I've got to move the lights like behind the camera. So
Are they still functional for actually like soldering and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah, it's fine. But, and I've got other overhead lights for that, which I specifically turn on if I really need a lot of light directly down. I'm
Right.
actually doing real work, as opposed to
Right,
videos.
That's a tough thing. I mean, like I think that's a hard lesson learned as well. Like especially when you're starting out, you're younger, you probably have better eyes as well. Not that my eyes are going bad. It's just
No,
especially
mine
as
are
parts
fine,
get
yeah.
smaller. It's
Yep.
just you really do need a lot of light to do it well. Because
Yep.
I don't know about you, but I'll do a lot of times. I'll be like, oh, this solder joint's great, and then I'll like pick up the board and catch it at another angle and be like,
Yep, that's it. Yeah,
no,
exactly.
it wasn't.
You need at least like 1,000 lux. I mean, if we're talking lux,
Yeah.
you need 1,000 lux on the bench,
Right.
minimum, to sort of get decent light. Yeah,
I don't know what that measure is.
Right. No, nothing beats taking something and putting it under your Mantis microscope, which has the LED light right on it. You've got the 3D optics, It's just like that's... like there's so many stuff I miss. I'm sitting there on the bench. Yeah, I've got my 1,000 lux of light, and I've got my super
folks,
duper
nothing's
eyesight.
better than taking your first edition leather-bound Art of Electronics and going to sit on your golden toilet. That's what you sound like right now, Dave.
No, but any sort of microscope with you
I
can
know,
get a
I know.
$100 optical microscope on eBay. It doesn't have to be a multi-$1,000 Mantis, right?
You're just saying that
But-
having the close view and the direct light.
Having
that's
the
what you mean.
close view and the light like right on it, right there.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff I miss on the bench. Even though I think I've got pretty darn good eyesight and I've got that 1,000 lux, I just miss a lot of stuff. But you
Yeah,
take it
yeah.
over to the microscope and hey, there it is.
Yeah, right. I was showing around my board that I've been working on the road, and someone picked it up. They go, "Wow, you're not very good at soldering." And I'm like, "Well, that's actually pretty true, but also I was in a hotel room. I mean, come on, give me, So it's yeah,
Right. Yeah.
it's,
I know.
that's not a good
know.
excuse. So I do need to put in new lighting and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I use excuses all the time, like I've got
too, yeah.
30-year-old solder,
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Really preserve
I
this
actually
stuff.
for the first time ever, I think I went and bought new rolls of solder. I got brand
yeah?
new rolls of solder. I've got lead and lead free.
It's not cheap, man.
Rolls.
It's expensive.
No, it's not cheap, but like a 500 gram, half kilo, reel of these things, which will last forever.
Right.
Unless you're doing full on production soldering. One reel of solder will last you like 20 years.
Is there
it's
actually
a long
an expiration date on like the core, the rosin core?
I wondered that, and I was actually I thought about doing some tests on some old stuff I had, because I swear my soldering gets worse every year, and it's not me. I reckon it's that crusty
Well, it
old
couldn't be,
solder.
of
I've
course,
got.
right?
That's right, and. And the new one, of course, is finer. I've got 0.35 millimeter solder, so it's really thin stuff. And I got the lead and the lead free. I think I'm going to transition to lead free.
Really? That's interesting.
Why
not?
I think I don't know. I just feel like I should.
Just like the
I
environmental.
feel like I should.
kind
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe from a health point of view.
Lead makes things so smooth, though, man.
I know.
I love
Lead
it.
solder is so nice. It is so nice. But I figure, look, the whole world's moving to lead free. I should probably do it too.
Yeah,
And,
actually, I mean,
I thought
that
I
is
might
realistic, I
do some
suppose.
videos on it, showing the differences, and it's not that bad. It works. It just doesn't look as good. You have to take a bit more care. But
I'm pretty terrible to start with, man.
I don't know.
I've worked with lead free a bunch. I think what it is like if you have that crutch to lean on, you kind of go back to it. It's like, oh, this is nice.
Of course.
This is silky smooth.
Yeah, I shouldn't have bought a new roll of leaded solder.
Right.
I should have just got the lead free, and that would
cold turkey.
Yeah, exactly.
See, my problem is, I've been using these flux pens, right? And I like flux pens; they're all right. I mean, I'd probably rather have the syringe type, but I think the pens are a little bit more available if you're looking on like commercial sites like Amazon and stuff.
Yeah, and they're convenient. They're not messy. They're I like them, and they aren't cheap either. You can pay $10-15 for solder.
I think $9 or $10 for the ones I got. But I always get drawn to the no clean, like the alcohol based no clean. Man, that is just. I think it was Jeff Kaiser I talked to about it. He said he's taken to just the most caustic, terrible material ever. But it was, but that's like it's like lead and
it works, right? The caustic, like it's like my wife's into these natural cleaning products and stuff, and they don't, they're shit. Right? Like you often hear me say, just give me a real chemical, and actually get the job done.
Yeah, she goes through and cleans, and the next day you're just scrubbing there with just like a drop of bleach. You're like, yeah, and now it works.
Exactly.
Yes, I don't know. I think I gotta switch back to just.
Well, it's you can get those a big rage back in the. Oh, geez, it would have been the late 80s, early 90s, was these citrus-based cleaning solvents for boards, right? Flux removal. These citrus ones, and they were crap. Or they're like oranges. They're they're
just
a
based
natural
on acid, basically.
It's like a natural acid or something, and they're a natural product. You could probably drink the stuff, right? So completely safe, but that was just garbage.
Minus all the residue of flux and lead solder that's in there, right?
So it kind of, sort of, if you scrubbed hard enough with the brush, it got rid of the flux residue, but then it left behind all this citrus crap. It was just awful.
Wow.
Oh, I think they're better now. You can still buy these citrus-based board flux removers, but gee, back when I first used them, they were awful.
Yeah, give me some.
Man,
what are those called? The hex or
actually
something?
it was.
Yeah.
Oh, the hexachromovalent.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Give me the good stuff,
take
man.
my-
If my head isn't ringing by the
Right.
time I'm on my 5th board, I'm not doing it right.
Actually, it was the late 80s. Yeah, it was the late
Okay.
80s. Yep. There you
Yeah.
go. Anyway,
So
horrible memories.
my case actually was busted into by the TSA as well.
It was. Okay.
Yeah.
So did they find your happy note?
They did, yeah. So I posted a note online that I wrote to the TSA, basically thanking them for opening my case. Oh, thank you so much, TSA. And then basically telling them where everything is, what it is, and not to freak out. And everything was still in there when I opened it at home,
Right.
including the note
Yep.
from them, saying we've opened this.
Right.
They unplugged my soldering iron and they unplugged my ATX power supply, and they didn't unplug the oscilloscope. And it's just like connected to an extension cord. It's like, what?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
What are you
I know.
bozos doing? Like, yeah, not plugged into anything except.
And
an
how
extension
many? Just think of the sheer number of people who fly in the US every year, and how many people? How many times are they doing this? How many
know.
people do they employ to do
cord. I
this?
know,
It's
it's
just
so dumb.
wow.
Yep.
It's just stunning. It really is.
I agree. I think
No
it's
wonder
it's
you
ridiculous.
guys are going broke. Yeah.
No joke. Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
yeah.
You guys are doing great over there. I've read about you guys.
Right. Well, no,
Let's
the
not start
current
in on
government.
Abbott,
No. Let's not go there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you actually know his name. I'm surprised.
Oh yeah. Well, also so on Monday night after you and I talked, I went and had a dinner with a bunch of Aussies. I was hanging out with Aussies all weekend.
Right. Yeah,
all
yeah.
weekend.
And that's all you heard is bitching about Abbott,
Yeah.
was it?
Yeah. But
Man. Right.
yeah. So then I was at, I don't know if you care, I was at SolidCon. That was fun.
See, I had never heard of SolidCon before you brought it up and raved about it.
Well, it was the first year, so that helps.
Ah, right.
This was
Okay.
yeah. So this is O'Reilly was doing SolidCon this year, and I had applied back when I heard about it. I applied to give a talk, and that's what I ended up giving a talk about open hardware tools. Sorry, open hardware design tools. Open source design tools for making open hardware. That's what it was. You could tell I was really well prepared for my talk. And
So how'd it go? How many people were there?
it's I don't really know the official numbers. It looked like the hall had about anywhere from 500 to 1,000 chairs, like for the keynotes and stuff like that.
Right.
So-
How many turned up for your?
for my thing, probably about 50 people.
Okay.
It was the
Well, that's a
the only
reasonable
gripe
size
I
crowd.
had about the whole conference was that they everything was so rushed that like there was like 2 20-minute back-to-back talks all the time, and the only downside of
Right,
that is
yeah,
that
of
like
course.
there was no time for questions unless the person finished early.
Oh, yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
because of the space, it was at the end of the peninsula in San Francisco. So they had these different buildings. It was on the old Fort Mason base, and so if you wanted to get to the next talk at some other place, you basically missed the first 5 minutes of other talks because you were racing from spot to spot.
Right.
But I think that was more
that's
just
poor organization.
well, I think it was like they got what they got because Cisco Live was in town, which was like this huge
Okay. Right.
conference. So yeah, I mean it was overall done very well. I thought. I mean, but the guy that went before me though actually was really interesting. The whole conference was about like hardware and software interacting. Internet of Things was brought up a lot. I mean, obviously that was a big
Of
focus
course.
there. O'Reilly was very interested in that stuff. But I've never really dug into that side of things, like how you think about the electronic side of that. We talk about that stuff a lot, internet connectivity and things. But the guy before me was actually talking about a protocol that a lot of the machines can use as like a publishing of information. It's called MQTT. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So it's kind of like the good analogy he used, and I'll try and find his. I think his name is like Andy Simon or something like that. I don't remember his name actually, but he basically, it's kind of like Twitter for machines, right? So it's like you have
Right.
a device sitting on
Okay.
your bench, right, and it's just measuring temperature on your bench, right? And
Yep.
instead of connecting to that, point to point, right? So your your computer, your desktop actually connects directly to that. Now instead, it it connects through a through a like a hub, basically. Basically it gets on the internet and it connects to a publishing hub, and then basically it just starts tweeting out information. That's the best way to think about it.
Right. Okay. Right. And then anyone or anything can tap into that.
That's right. Yeah. So basically, then it's like you follow a device. So you know that this temperature probe's out there. You say, I'm going to follow it. And so he did a demo even where it was just Python based, and he was basically just pulling up information on his house, because his house is just basically sending out information about that. And you can do public-private type stuff as well. And it's really neat.
Right.
And apparently that's actually, like the little messages that pop up on Facebook, like when you get a notification.
Yep.
That's actually
Bloody
the protocol
Facebook.
that they use. I'm not a big Facebook fan myself, but that's actually the protocol that they use. I'm not sure why they chose it, but basically it's really just memory lightweight and everything. And I thought it was really cool. There's a couple different talks about it. So I never really thought about how all that stuff would talk. That's kind of a...
No, well, that's a huge thing. That's a huge deal.
Yeah.
It's got to talk somehow. I mean, I've got a lab temperature sensor here. I'm actually going to plug it back in now that I've got setting up my lab for all my, real time streaming and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to hook it back up, and it goes to some website which acts as a sort of like a third-party host for data, and then you can extract the data out and stuff like that. I'm not sure how equivalent it is to this. I think it's more proprietary.
Yeah, So that's another interesting thing too, because I listened to a podcast. There's actually I don't think it's a new podcast, but it's called the Internet of Things podcast by GigaOM, and it's Stacey Higginbotham who actually hosts it. And there's some good back episodes. And there's another co-host as well, but they had Peter Semmelhack on. Do you remember Bug Labs? Do you remember that? That company? Yep. So they were the ones who were doing like modular devices, and then they started working with Ford. They started a new one called Dweet.io, DWEET.io, and that's kind of the same idea, that it's supposed to be like Twitter, but it was different somehow. He explained it to me on Twitter, like saying that it's a protocol versus like a platform, and I don't know what the hell the difference is.
Right.
But, it kind of brings up this interesting question of, like, who really controls this stuff, right? So, like, we think even about Twitter. Twitter's still a company. They still, own the platform and everything like that.
Yeah, of course.
If they shut down tomorrow, there would be clones and something similar, but it would pretty much fall apart because there's so much collective buy-in to that platform. And so I don't really know the difference, but I think both are probably decent ways to go forward. Basically they're just like low overhead ways to get devices crapping their data onto the internet.
Right.
And because I never really thought about it before, I just never really looked at what it took to do that kind of. I always think about the difficult side of getting things on the internet, and as as these platforms come up, SparkCore and Electric Imp,
it's gotten a lot easier since in the last 4 or 5 years.
Right. And once you get all those pathways figured out, thinking even just like a phone connected Bluetooth to a device, then something written on the phone has to still connect up to the internet and push all that data. Yep. So it's a big problem, and a lot of people talked about that stuff at the conference. I think that's probably why there's a lot of interest in that. But I won't be doing much.
Well, that probably has to be the biggest problem, right, with the whole Internet of Things. I mean, anyone can make a bit of hardware that physically connects to the internet.
Yeah.
But then what do you do with it? How do you, hardware's easy, right? Getting it to physically connect up.
Yeah. Well,
is a piece of cake.
I don't know. Maybe this is a good discussion point too, because it kind of vacillated back and forth. It's like, some people would say hardware's easy, and then, then that's usually when they were talking about the platform type of stuff. And then when they were talking about the manufacturing side of things, of course, hardware's hard, right? And
right.
And it went back and forth and back and forth. And of course, you and I and all our listeners know that yes, hardware is hard, but then you ask us to hook it all up to, to network it all together, and then of course, it's the same kind of thing. I don't know where to start. So
yeah, no, that's where guys like us just throw our hands up in the air going.
Right. I think with the hardware is hard thing, it's not hard to make a piece of hardware anymore, right? It's with Arduino and everything else.
That's right.
It's getting simpler to start like that. It's hard to make interesting hardware, and it's hard to actually manufacture hardware. Those are the two big things that are still looming large, and I don't see the manufacturing getting any easier anytime soon. Obviously, we have
No,
friends like
I
Circuit
don't.
Hub and everything else, but even that, logistics and just the whole
Yeah,
supply
there's
chain.
no magic bullet there. There's just not. Anyone who thinks there is just doesn't know the full picture.
Yeah. Yeah, Brady, one of the guys. So Brady Forrest is a guy at PCH International. And he's given a talk before. I think he did it at another conference, but I like the name of the talk. It is "There is no China button."
Yeah, right. yeah.
And
Nice.
it's true, right? I mean, like
Nice.
there is no
Yeah,
any
of course,
country button,
totally.
right? There's no
Yep.
locally
Yeah.
produced hardware button either. But
Yep.
it's
Yep.
it was good because I mean that's obviously what a lot of PCH focuses on. They're the guys who make a lot of Beats by Dre hardware, like the headphones,
God.
and they make Apple hardware.
Yep.
They have Highway 1. So that was good talk as well.
Now we've mentioned this. I think we may have mentioned this, but it's a good place to talk about it again. You gave a talk,
Yeah.
right? What is the advantage of giving a talk like that to 50 people? Whereas you could have, put that information on the net and it'd be available to everyone.
Oh, actually, that's a good question.
Did you actually videotape it?
I did not. They did. So
Oh, right. Yeah. Then, because if that doesn't happen, I used to think that would be a cool thing to do, right? Go and give a talk, and then I'm thinking, no, it's not, because I was going to give a talk at the local Maker Fair, right? They have sessions and all that sort of stuff, and I was going to give a talk, and then I was a little excited about it, and then I just sat down and thought about it and go, no, that's a very poor use of my time.
Did you go?
To reach, No, I didn't end up doing it.
See,
right?
that's what it is right there. There's no skin in the game. I think honestly, for someone like you, and maybe increasingly someone like me, like there's no skin in the game, right? So it's like, oh well,
yeah,
I'm not
right.
talking, and something came up, I'm not going, right? And I know that's not a great reason, but that's definitely a reason.
Well, because we're not getting paid. No, it's not.
No,
it's
not that. No, I'm saying that you wouldn't go at all. It's all about the So I think the value of giving a talk is the people that come up afterwards and want to,
of course,
it's like they're self-selecting, right? So first off, they're self-selecting that they want to go to your talk in the first place.
Of course.
And then they want to talk afterwards. It's like, in terms of the entire world population of people
you have filtered them all out.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, you are down to the people that really want to, discuss what you're discussing. And that's actually a good way to form your talks probably as well. Talk about something that you don't think other people might want to talk about that might push the limits. Then if you find someone, holy crap, right? I mean, that's great.
Yeah, exactly. That's,
I do agree about the
videotaping
videotaping
but no,
thing.
it's like, that's was going to be my whole point. Like, unless I videotape it and then upload it, I think, because I would have had to have put a lot of work into preparing that and transporting all stuff there and, setting up and doing everything and wasting the whole day. I wouldn't get to see the show just to give this 30-minute talk, right? And all that effort.
What are you doing in the back? You're like running around, like hyping yourself up. What kind of equipment do you need to give a talk? You talk on camera every single day.
I know. No, I was going to do hardware stuff, right?
Oh, okay.
So, demonstrate. Like I was going to have, do live stuff and things like that. And then, it's all that effort. Whereas when I produce a video, 20, 30,000 people watch it and it's up there for everyone, infinite number of people to potentially find and watch.
It's very
There's just
true.
so much more value in doing that than giving a local talk. It doesn't mean I won't do it, but I probably wouldn't give like a really full on demo.
Yeah.
Like like a hands-on kind of thing where I have to, spend all day setting it up or something like that. But
well, if we want to get into the psychological, squishy side of things, I think that the idea of social proof as well. So, like the difference between you talking to a camera and you talking to a group of people on camera, there's a social proof aspect there as well, right? So it gives a different feeling for sure, right? It means you were asked by someone to go talk there. So I think that makes a difference as well.
Yep.
I am kicking myself for I didn't record my Maker Faire talk just because I was lazy.
Yes.
And, some people showed up and got to meet them all afterwards, and that was great. But, that talk's in the ether now.
That's gone. It's lost in the annals of time, right?
Yeah. It wasn't
Which
that
is
good.
a shame. I just hate things being lost in the annals of time. Now that we live in this age of everything being recorded,
That's
you know?
true.
Yeah,
And even if
Yeah.
10 people watch it, right, that 1 out of those 10 might be the one that goes and prompts you with, another great idea for something in the future, for sure.
Yeah, it's not just this industry, right? I belong to other groups and things like that, and I get information. I go to talks and meetings and stuff like that, and I'm going, look, somebody's and I read, somebody's coming in. They're the world's greatest canyoner, and they're giving this talk on how they explored the canyons, and all this sort of stuff, and it's like. I, send a thing to the group. Is anyone going to record this? And they go, oh, no, we didn't think of that.
Right.
And it's like, oh, man, are you kidding me?
Right.
Like, it's just a shame,
Right. No, I agree. And we have talked about that before, because I think we talked about the value of going at all, because like the whole Solid, it was all online. Like I think all of the keynotes you could stream, and I think the MakerCon,
right.
which is the
No,
week before.
I can appreciate going. No, I can
Yeah.
certainly appreciate going.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, really, it's really all about like meeting people and stuff. Like, so another thing while I was out there, right? So this is San Francisco, and hardware might be hard, but good lord, is it hot right now? I mean, like I think it was Quirky was there, the company that does that social, like developing of products. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
So they have like a community. It's the same as like local motors, where they have like a community, and then like one person puts an idea forward, everybody votes on it, and then it kind of progresses through the stages, which is a cool idea. But then at the end, it's like they develop stuff. Well, Quirky was like hiring. They're like, oh yeah, we're out here. We're hiring we're opening a new office. We're hiring like 40 or 50 hardware people. Oh, okay.
Wow.
Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, okay. And it's not just them. I mean, it's everyone, right? And so, like, I was going to meetups throughout the week too. There was I missed a sensor meetup, but it's just like, I don't want to call it a gold rush, but it's there's some jobs
so
out there.
they're hiring hardware people to do what to develop this hardware, the ideas that people come up with.
Yeah.
So they'll have their own in-house group to.
Yep.
Wow, 40 is a lot.
That's a lot.
Like
yeah.
I've worked on $20 million projects that only have 5 people working on it. Right.
Well, they raised $170
crap.
million, so that probably helps.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Well, right. Yeah. So you just hire like crazy. Of course, if you had $170 million and it's someone else's money, of course you're gonna.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. I'll have 50 hardware engineers, please. Thank you very much.
Man. I actually wonder what you could do with it. I mean, like, you think about all the prototyping machines and like, I don't know. It's cool. It's very cool.
Man.
So yeah, it is, I still don't know what the feeling, like it's, like I said, it's weird because it feels like hardware's easy and then it feels like hardware's hard and it's
well,
just,
you've got a couple.
It's weird.
Yeah. You've got a couple of articles on the Reddit thread about how, there's another company that is a Vegas tech fund. They're putting $10 million into a hardware startup.
Actually, that's the manufacturing in the States for hardware startups. So that's what's interesting about that is basically that's Tony Hsieh. That's how you say it. I learned that the other day. I didn't realize.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Tony Hsieh's the who's the Zappos guy. I think he's the guy that started Zappos. And but yeah, man, $10 million for for manufacturing. That's pretty killer too. And actually, so there's another one on here. It was where was it? Basically, it was talking about hardware. So it was Renee DeResta. She's actually at O'Reilly in their tech fund, right? The OATV, the Tech Ventures or whatever.
Yes.
But she did actually a really good talk, and she's done stuff in the past, kind of just showing numbers and stuff like that. She does a lot of surveys of manufacturing and stuff like that, and she showed a really interesting graph with the crossover in labor prices between China and Mexico, and Mexico is currently cheaper, I believe, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah,
right?
well, that doesn't surprise me.
That doesn't surprise you?
China, no. Look, China used to be cheap. We've talked about this many, many times on the show. China is no longer cheap, right?
Yeah.
It can have the appearance of still being cheap, but when you get down to it, not so, especially if you're based in the US. I can understand Mexico. Well, it's only a short flight.
Yeah,
right?
oh yeah, right.
Heck, if you're down in San Diego or something, just drive across the border.
Right, yeah, that's what 3D Robotics does. And
Right.
I know GE's
Yeah.
got big plants down there now as well.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So it's it's interesting seeing this stuff, and she writes good stuff. So I'll be able to embed this. I think I can embed this presentation in there in our notes.
Yes,
so
you can.
I'll do that. The only I'll stop talking about Solid now because it was good, and there will be a lot of stuff online about it. But the talk that blew me away was actually Nadia from the Center for Bits and Atoms, which is that's the one that Neil Gershenfeld started, the lab at MIT. And
See, you're throwing all these names out, and I have no idea, dude.
so how about Fab Labs? You know the term Fab Labs?
Yes.
So that's what I colloquially call the Gershenfeld starter kit, right? When there's a shop bot and a Modelo and whatever else is in the kit, usually a Epilogue laser cutter. There's like this standard set that the Fab Labs are set up for the throughout the world basically. So I call that the Gershenfeld starter kit. And Neil Gershenfeld is the one who wrote this book called Fab, and he started this thing called Center for Bits and Atoms, and so he's referred to a lot anytime there's any kind of crossover software hardware. So Nadia is one of his proteges, I think, and her and James, I don't remember James' last name, but basically they're doing these modular machines that basically allow you to like with different. There's like a rotation platform and there's like a linear actuation platform, but basically it was like the electronics to control all this stuff, all written in Python, and then basically all of them are modular, so you can plug them together. So she like basically constructed a 3-axis CNC like without much issue, right? You just kind of map it out,
Right.
and so for me that was like this crazy blurring of electronics and mechanical stuff. It was really neat. And so there's a bunch of videos that they have online and stuff. So I hope she'll come on the show at some point. We'll see. But I was very impressed by that, and she definitely knew her stuff. She did all custom hardware and stuff like that as well.
Right.
So
one graph I really like.
Yeah.
From the same page that you got the Mexico-China one is the number of hackerspaces started each year.
Each year? Which page is that on?
Yep. Oh.
Hacking hardware.
Anyway,
Yeah.
like we're talking 250
That's crazy.
per year.
Yeah.
It's like one every couple of days is opening up somewhere. I assume it's worldwide.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably. Yeah.
It has to be worldwide, but that's just nuts. That's nuts.
That is nuts.
And where are they all going? Because Sydney only has a couple.
Yeah. They keep going to smaller towns. I think. I mean.
Right. Okay.
I guess I don't think it. I mean, but like I think, especially when you go overseas, right? There's so many. You think about these old world countries, right? I mean, like, how many major commerce centers are there in like Germany, right? I mean, like every.
Right. Of course.
Like
of course. Every town's a major commerce center.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And there's there's tech people all over the place. Or think when you start going to China, you start opening up maker spaces in China. That starts to get pretty insane too.
Yep.
Just in terms of population. So.
No. Exactly.
And one of the main things
Unbelievable.
with hackerspace, makerspaces as well, I think you know this, the further away you are, the less likely you are to go. And so,
of course.
if you see that there's a space and it's 20 miles away and you can start one a mile away with people that are interested also a mile away, then it's,
right, then you'll do it. Yeah, exactly.
Right. The costs are coming down enough that makes sense.
That's what happens when it's also a lifestyle thing. That's what happens when you live close to that. I mean, you and me, right? Both married, live in the suburbs, right?
Yeah.
Are we going to, and we have our own home labs, are we going to go to a hackerspace? No.
Not unless we need something specifically, right? I mean,
unless we need
for
to do
mentoring
something
or something else, right?
Yeah.
That makes
we
sense.
aren't just going to, but if you're a young student living in a dorm, what are you going to do, right? You're going to go to the hackerspace and you're going to hang out, right?
Build a portal lab, of course. There. I mean,
exactly.
But you can take your portal lab to the hackerspace.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, that's, it's a total lifestyle thing.
Someone asked if I'm going to be designing and selling hardware portal labs. The answer is a resounding no. No interest in that at all. Sorry.
Oh, goodness. Yep. No, because you would have to add on so much margin to make it worthwhile. People would
Right.
go, oh, but I can buy all this shit off the shelf, and just
Exactly.
do it myself. And yeah, well, that's the whole point.
Right. Yeah, especially for me cutting out foam. Yeah.
And it's not cheap, right? Because this is like a top of the line case. This is a top of the line Pelican case.
It is, but I found a lower cost version. I'll still be buying Pelican probably. It's American made in Massachusetts.
Right.
But there is a low cost China version for like roughly half, a little bit more than half. So.
Oh, really? And it's fully compatible?
The drawings look compatible. I don't know about the quality, so that's ultimately what it comes down to.
No, of course, but but like physically inside. So if you design something to fit in a Pelican, will it fit in this?
I believe so. Yeah, I think it's a direct.
Exactly.
I think it's a direct cross.
Right,
So.
with the mounting holes and the
Right,
standoffs
right.
you were talking about and
Yep.
everything else.
Yep. Yeah. So maybe you should
Okay.
go for that. It might be a
Right.
shorter trip for you.
I-
Although it is shipping. It's on
Yeah.
DigiKey, so I don't know. But maybe the brand.
Oh, okay.
Is
It's on DigiKey.
yeah, that was what's weird about it. It was. I think I posted it to the. Yeah. There. Yeah. Nope. A lower.
Gee.
It's on the
Oh, man.
list. It's a lower cost case for the Portalab. So.
Oh, it's. I was like you know how you had never heard of these Pelican cases before.
I mean,
Right.
I'd heard of them, but I.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know
but
about
you
the
didn't know
specific-
how extensively they were used in the electronics industry and and packing test gear and other equipment in. Right.
Okay.
And
PolitiFact
stuff like that.
gives that a marginally true. Okay, go ahead.
Right. Anyway, I went to Fluke the other day. They're just down the road, right? And I walked in, and the place is just covered with gear in freaking Pelican cases because they're all all the salespeople are always going to trade shows and
Yeah,
they're going
right,
out to
right.
visit clients and everything else, and everything is packed in Pelican cases. There were, oh man, as far as the eye can see.
Yep.
Fantastic. Yeah, because they just, yeah. Because when you pay cheap and you skimp, you get that cheaper quality and it just doesn't last.
Right.
you
Well,
know?
yeah, that'll be the really interesting thing is if this one on DigiKey is. I don't know. Maybe I should get one just for comparison's sake. But
I should get one, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Will they do their fixed $30 postage to Australia for that Pelican case, I wonder?
Oh, if so, that's a steal then. Because we were
Yeah, I
looking at
know,
that.
I know,
Getting
'cause
you that one, it was like $130 for shipping,
Oh,
wasn't
it was like, shipping, very expensive here. Yeah. So, to buy a Pelican case here, we're paying the Australia tax, right?
Yeah.
So, they're marked up. It's like, for the case you got, it's like, if you bought it in a store here, it's like $400-500.
No, you can
Right,
get it off
it's really
Amazon in
expensive.
Australia. You could import it. It's eligible for export. I checked that.
Oh,
It's
right.
like
okay.
it's like $350 for the Pelican I got in Australia. So
In Australia, but it's still $350, right?
Right,
That's
right.
like,
that's a lot. Yeah.
geez, that costs more than a Rigol scope that goes in it,
That's true. Yeah, good point.
right? It's just crazy.
Yeah.
Even here in Australia, I can buy a Rigol scope for $330.
Oh, really? Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. Finally, they got the price down here. But
Backwater
it took
of the
5
world.
years.
You guys are far
Yeah,
away.
exactly. Yeah, I know. I know. It's one of the problems.
Yeah.
Well, it's the only problem.
Right. Yeah.
We don't have any other problems
Yeah.
except
Right.
Tony
Of course
Abbott.
not. Of course not. Yeah.
But he'll just get booted out before the next election anyway.
Yes.
So.
Speaking of
Anyway, let's
DigiKey,
not go
did
there.
you see their new offering?
They have, this is Mentor graphics. At first I was very excited.
Yeah, I
right?
was too. Yeah.
And then I read that anyway. Tell the people what they've done.
So basically, they paired up with Menor, and I don't actually know which product it is because Menor has a couple. I think it is pads that they're actually doing. They're actually going to give out pads.
It's pads.
Yeah. And so they're going to give out pads, some version of pads, not really sure what. And then basically they're going to price it at less than $300, right? So it should be on par with Eagle, if I'm remembering my Eagle prices correctly. And then basically the
Right, see, I hadn't seen the prices.
Oh, okay. But the interesting thing is
Okay.
that they're going to be tied directly into DigiKey, right? So I'm guessing either DigiKey
They'll
is...
have every DigiKey footprint, every DigiKey
Yeah.
part, that's massively attractive.
That is, yeah.
Because I pretty much use them as a standard basis for all my parts and stuff. They've
Yeah.
just got the biggest range, I think,
Yeah, in terms of like all inclusive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean as I've been finding more and more, you can get burned on some stuff, and definitely pricing is not as good as you would get directly.
Here's the catch, dude.
Yeah.
Here's the catch. Only the schematic tool is $300.
Oh, is that what I missed? Jeez.
Right, and yeah. And see, and this is the thing I was suddenly massively disappointed about, right? They announced this thing. Oh, great, they've got an EDA tool, right? And then they go, oh, no, sorry, we're only releasing the schematic now. The PCB might follow later. It's like, what? That is useless.
Yeah, that's
Useless as tits on a bull, really. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're starting from the right place, right? I mean, they're trying to capture more of the probably the hobbyist
they
market
are, but
and
they're
stuff
doing
like that.
it wrong.
But the thing the problem is that no one's like clamoring like, oh, Menor products, yeah. I really want to use their workflow. That is just like, of course, they have good tools.
Right.
I mean, that are ultimately useful, but it's like
it wouldn't be the same thing if Altium, if they teamed up with Altium and said, oh, everyone, because everyone knows Altium is sort of, the sort of, de facto mid-level PCB standard there, and it's it's not some thing that was ported from some mainframe.
That would be, that would definitely be a different thing. Yeah, not as much text or line or command line input, right? I mean, like that's
right.
And people might think, "Oh, I love command line," but no, you wouldn't. You don't think that. Like this is like AutoCAD style command line, where like you got to do.
Well, granted, I haven't used pads for a long, long time, so I don't know what its current state is. But still, they've just releasing the schematic because they've got some stupid wet fantasy that we don't need. Like, this is what Altium thought at one stage, right? PCB is optional extra. When they did that marketing campaign and made PCB optional extra, right? They had this wet dream that no one would need to actually design hardware anymore. Like, you wouldn't need to do it yourself because there'd always be somebody else to do it, or you could use off-the-shelf modules, or you could do whatever. And it was just ridiculous.
The idea would be that you put together a schematic and then you send it some
and you send it to someone else. That is what DigiKey's getting at, right? Is that, you don't need the PCB module. Yeah, you only need the schematic, and then, somebody else will lay out the board for you. Yeah. Piss off.
if you believe that, I have an autorouter I'd like to sell you. And a T-shirt to boot.
You do have the T-shirt. Yes. I bought one.
Yeah, I saw that. So the T-shirt is now available in on Teespring for a couple more weeks, and they can get their everybody can get their own.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's ridiculous that no one's going to be doing layout, right? I mean,
it's a joke. No, sorry, they should have waited. If they plan on releasing the PCB, they should have waited. Right now, it's just like, no, you've wasted all of that publicity. Right, everyone got briefly excited, then they went, "Oh, there's no PCB."
Right.
Piss off.
Exactly.
Right? No, gone. Right, everyone's forgotten about that now. And then in 6 months' time, when we've now released our PCB, no one's going to give a toss.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
I agree.
You've just blown it.
I think the other funny thing is that the people they're pricing it for, right, are probably like small businesses, hobbyists, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, but that's the group that would be likely to send a design off to someone else. Like when I was working, at big companies have layout groups, and that's where it makes sense.
Right.
But those companies are not the ones that want to pay $300, right? I mean, like
no, that's right.
they're willing to pay for support contracts and all the premium features, anyways, because it's
a total fail.
So.
It's a total fail all around. Sorry.
Did you see the official release of the new KiCad tool?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Well, no, see, I'm still going to bitch about this official release in quote marks.
Well, yes, okay.
Right? Come on.
That's
somebody, damn it, I'm thinking about bloody doing it to myself, stepping up to the plate and setting up a website going, this is the official release of KiCad. Here it is. Everybody use this. And if you want to support in the community, right, if you want to go jump on the forums and say, I'm having a problem with KiCad. Well, which version are you using? Oh, I don't know. I compiled it myself. Like it's bloody ridiculous, right? Somebody needs to step up and go, this is the official release, and then, right, and here's the official patch or whatever, or, like, it's just... until they do that, it is not going to be the success it should, it deserves to be.
I agree.
Anyway, the new interactive router kicks ass.
Yeah.
It looks nice.
Yeah, so it's from CERN.
Looks nice.
CERN published this video at least. I think they did a bunch of the work on this. But there's a couple different modes and stuff. It's the push and shove, but then also like the like the point to point. It's like super. He was doing like a BGA 900 pin layout really quickly. It was insane. It was awesome. But to go back for a second, though, you had mentioned before, why do people give speeches? Actually, so I mentioned the tinfoil hat thing in my speech at SolidCon, and a guy came up to me afterwards, and he started talking about Red Hat, and if Red Hat was actually successful. And I kind of like I don't know, I didn't look up that much. But apparently, maybe that's not a good model to go with, but because they had a lot of venture funding and stuff, too, that they got kind of screwed.
Right.
But, it's still out there, folks. That idea is still out there, and I sure as hell ain't taking. I got other stuff to do.
Right, yeah, so have I. But, geez, someone has to.
Surely anyone in our 7,000 listener base that is like, I'm really looking for a good idea.
I don't think you can make a buck out of it, but hey, everyone will thank you.
It depends.
You might.
It would take a while, but you could, I think.
What? It'd be like ad supported on the website because everyone's visiting the website. Or maybe you can have the official forum there,
Yeah, there's that, but I think the real thing would be this, eventually support contracts and stuff like that when people get fed up with pads or whatever else, over time.
Yeah, maybe. It depends how big time you wanted to try and make it, But no, you could make a living from it full time if you had a community forum or you had, ads and everyone was visiting, you could possibly make a living from it.
Yeah, maybe.
So, just saying,
Maybe there is something to that, Dave. Maybe there is.
Maybe I should just do it.
Yeah, maybe.
Have to start learning KiCad first.
Yeah, you probably should do that first. What was the thing? There's something else I wanted to talk about with KiCad. KiCad. No, that's it. Did you see... So this is an interesting thing, and I thought this would be an interesting discussion for us. The solar roadways, have you seen?
Oh, I looked at this, yeah. Now, do you want me to give my opinion?
Yeah,
After having briefly skipped through the video. I didn't watch the whole... I skipped through the video just before the thing, and I went... I'm really excited by it, right? It's a really exciting idea, and I love the build that this, it's a family they've done it, like husband and wife or something.
I think they're starting to get more help with
and
stuff.
The amount of effort they've put into this, it's really kick-ass, right? But I have the feeling that it is just a too complicated solution to be practical.
Yeah.
So especially for roads. I can picture it being you could have, I don't know, at service stations or something. You could have, solar cells embedded into the pavement or something. But for roads, no, it's just too complicated and expensive. It's not going to work.
So we should go back a step. So basically the idea is there's hexagonal tiles, and the idea is basically they fit into roadways. There's supposed to be some kind of super unbreakable glass with like texturing on top of it.
There's your other problem, right?
Well, no,
super unbreakable tempered glass or whatever it is expensive to manufacture. It's just...
I know. Yeah, honestly, Dave, of course they're up against a million issues, but let's get through the rest of it first. So the other idea is that there's solar cells embedded. Basically, these things tie together as a microcontroller.
There's LEDs embedded.
There's
LEDs microcontrollers.
Yep.
There's LEDs so that you can light up the lane markers and it's a really exciting project.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. Now, I think we should probably talk about what could make it work, because I think basically everyone else in the world will talk about what can't make it work. And I think probably our listening audience right now could already think of a million things that can't make it work.
It's just like the chip printer, dude.
Just like the chip. I went to the Xerox Park guys were there talking about chip printers, by the way, at Solid. I went to that.
So?
It was great.
So? Is that supposed to impress me?
No.
It's still not going to do it, dude. It's not going to happen.
It's on the way, man. It's on the way. Anywho, so I think the things that obviously there's a lot of difficulties here, right? So logistics being the biggest one. How do you get crews across the entire countryside? So I think you're right. Having isolated rollouts would definitely be good.
It's actually cost is the biggest thing. These things are bloody expensive no matter how you look at it. There's a reason roads are made out of, tar and, the asphalt stuff.
Right.
It's the cheapest solution to maintain a road.
That's a good point. Yep, for sure. And
yeah. So it's just not going to work. The amount of raw materials that would have to go in to produce even, one little town's worth of roads with this solution is just mind-boggling.
I was thinking about that
It's just
because
mind-boggling.
their entire backplane is actually all FR4. It looked like
It's a PCB embedded under this, really almost certainly ridiculously expensive, hardened glass. It's no.
So we're not going to go positive on this. We're not going to talk about the good things.
I think you should contribute to the campaign. Well, it's already reached its goal. They're after $1 million, which is a big goal, but they've already gotten 1.3 million because when you watch the video, you go, "Wow, these people have their shit together," and it looks really good.
Yeah, when they've been working on it for a
solution
long
is
time,
not roadways. The solution is not roadways. The solution is somewhere else.
Well, I was thinking about. I think that the idea that really benefits it is that it is scale, right? So the idea is that because you'd be covering so much area that it would have this benefit. But then maybe we do have to go negative on this. The tough things are not just the logistics of getting governments to buy in and getting all of the other stuff to buy in, like all of the utilities. They want it to all have utilities underneath it so you can have drainage and runoff and electricity and yada, yada, yada. But yeah, definitely the thing I think about is just the
and it's got a
realities.
heater built in that melts snow and stuff like that. I mean, it's just a solution. It's trying to be a solution for everything.
Right, and that's probably the way to go forward is to find a way just to have it just as solar to start with, right? So you just have dead simple, But even that, I don't know, man. I think about the interconnects on that stuff, right? So like, if you're really pumping serious current, right, and then you have to set up these matrices and yada yada yada.
No, there's just so many issues with it. But it's a cool idea and it deserves to be funded and it deserves to find a niche application somewhere.
Yeah,
totally.
I was thinking, like the scale, you wouldn't get the scale, but maybe even just for, starting at the high end, right? So like a high end driveway, right? That would be a really good place to start, right? Because then you'd get like the fancy LEDs going up that. You could get the snow melting.
And it looks fancy, rather, whereas solar panels on your roof, they're not very attractive.
You don't think so? I guess, you have them, so
I personally do, but I know as a general society, people don't think they're very attractive.
I never understood that. People say that about like wind turbines too. I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, dude,
I love wind turbines.
Energy right now. That is awesome.
They're majestic.
Yeah,
I know. They're so
exactly.
majestic. And I know. But your average Joe Blogs out there, I think, finds them relatively ugly.
Not to go back to solid again, but the Makani guys, the ones that Google bought, that the wind powered kite thing that like circles up and down. Do you remember that thing?
Oh, yeah.
They had one there. It was awesome. and it was like the baby. And they're going to make like one like 10 times larger than that. Oh, right. It was awesome. Sorry. I was very excited about that.
I think Chris needs some quiet time, folks.
I need some downtime. So I was telling someone this. The second day, or maybe I mentioned it to you last week even, but just the second day, it was just so hard to like get back out there and talk to people. Just that much time trying to be an extrovert is difficult, I talk a lot behind a microphone, but it's like that's behind a microphone when you're, in front of people, trying to meet people.
Yeah, no, I'm totally like that. Like I turn up to a show, meaning to blog the show, and I'm like, hesitant to walk up to people, just be that sort of, person that I need to be.
Yeah, right,
to do
exactly.
That sort of gig.
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
I
hard.
did have an interesting experience, a couple of experiences with Google Glass while I was out there. Obviously, I was wearing them while I was at the show and stuff like that. I didn't get punched in the face like some people have been, nor have my glasses been snatched and smashed in front of me like other people have had.
Right.
But I've come up with an interesting analogy it's kind of like smoking, right? So like,
Right. Right, you'll go hang out in a shady corner of
yeah, I guess that fits
outside the building.
That fits too, but
Dude,
what I was
look at
really
mine,
thinking
man.
about was some people are just like, like it's obviously like smoking is a personal choice, right? It might not be
Right.
healthy for everyone around you, right? There are areas where it's much more looked upon. It's better in some areas than others, and some people are just like violent about their reaction to it. I had someone just like just like like some people are like, oh, I hate smokers, right? And it's like, okay, you hate the act of
That's
smoking,
me.
you don't necessarily hate the person who's smoking, right?
No, of course.
Right,
no,
but-
that's taking it the wrong way. Yeah, of
Right,
course.
and that's kind of the same kind of
Yeah.
thing where it's like people just project like, oh, I hate Google Glass, I hate it. Can
Yeah.
take them off?
Right.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Like I'm just like they're not even on right now. Like I get it. Like I know the
Right.
feelings, and man, like it. Yeah. So that's my closest. Oh, and then the other thing was like someone who's like, oh, I can't stand smokers. It's so unhealthy, right? And and then they walk
Right.
over and they start chugging a beer or something. Like that same kind of
Right, yeah,
hypocrisy as
exactly.
well. Because people will say, oh, I hate Google Glass, then they'll get their phone out and take pictures of everything. So
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that I don't understand. I can understand the hatred of smoking if it affects you, because smoking don't
it does. I mean, both affect you, right?
I
They
can
do.
smell a cigarette smoke a mile away, right?
No, I know.
And if I smell someone's cigarette smoke, they're polluting my right to fresh air. And it's like, no, that's when I say, well, piss off, right?
Will you
but
go
if
up
you
to
want
them
to go
and say,
smoke in your
I
own
hate
home,
you, though? I mean, like, you can ask him. I mean,
No,
like, that's the thing. Like, I was okay. Like, I've had people
No,
ask
exactly.
me before, please, can you please take those off? And that's fine, right? That's what I'd expect.
Right.
And that's...
oh,
that's
you've actually had people ask you that?
yeah, I've had people say, yeah, can you
Where?
can you not...
Where?
This is at the EE Live. Someone asked me that, and it's fine. Like, they
Right,
told me about
okay.
it, and I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But then, like, the
Because
difference...
they didn't want to be recorded?
Because they were just uncomfortable about it. And if people are uncomfortable,
Right.
that's fine. But the difference is
Yeah.
someone asking me like that, which was very, it was very rational and calm, and someone saying, I hate that. And by extension,
Yeah, right.
acting like I
Yep.
hate you, right? That's the difference. And
Yeah.
so that's why I thought it was like smoking, right? Because it's,
Right.
I don't know.
But see, you could say it's doing no harm, but you are being recorded. Like, if you walked around with a huge, camcorder, right, walking around like even like stuck on your forehead, stuck on your forehead or something, right, people would be, not too happy with that because they know that they're being recorded.
Right, yeah.
Right, and if you walked up to someone and started talking, and you were holding your mobile phone, actually recording them,
Of course, yeah.
right? They would do the same way. So yeah, I don't necessarily.
Right, but would they project hatred on
blame
you?
them?
Would you? I mean, like,
Oh, well, no, that's wrong.
right? That's what I'm saying.
wrong.
That
It's
it
like-
inspires this
Yeah.
this virulent like reaction that it's just like, oh, okay, well, like I said, when people are kind about it, that's fine. I'm a rational person. I don't care.
So what do you do if somebody gets violent about it?
Walk away.
Do you
Like a rational person, I walk away.
right? You don't flip the bird and
No,
make
I mean,
me.
that's fine. Yeah.
Make me nerd.
No, Dave.
Oh boy. Yep. The best thing to do in that situation is just laugh at them.
Yeah. Right.
Just just don't engage them at all. Just laugh.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. That can piss them off even more. But
Of
hey,
course, right.
that's their problem. All right.
just human beings being human beings, right?
Yep. Yep. Oh goodness.
There's some other
Yeah. So that's a.
cool stories we should
No,
cover
sorry.
this week.
We'll leave that alone.
Yeah, we should. Yeah,
Yep.
that's it.
Let's do it.
So there's some other interesting stuff going on. One is, you see this thing about NASA and the satellite thingy?
No, I haven't, but I'm pulling it up.
So
They're letting
basically-
people commandeer old satellites?
Yeah, so
What?
basically this satellite was lost in orbit, and basically there's very limited power, and basically NASA couldn't get at it, and basically the computer that was able to talk to it is long gone. And so
Right.
these scientists approached them and said, "Hey, can we give it a shot?" And they said, "Yeah, that's fine." And basically, it's they're their window is coming up now, and so there's been a couple stories about this, and like that's awesome. Can you imagine if so they did some some fundraising, some crowdfunding and stuff like that, but if they do that, that would be killer.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, talk about citizen science.
What if they raise this money and they can't talk to it and it's not operational? How do they know it's still talking and stuff?
I assume it'll send a selfie in front of whatever planet it's in front of, I don't know. It'd probably a ping or something,
Yeah, but they would have had to have tried it first. They would have had to have been getting the ping from the thing or something.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that it needs to actually come back. I think they actually need to direct it back into orbit. I don't know the exact details of that, but I think it's also that it needs to fire some retro rockets or something like that. So not only does it have to connect and it has to communicate, but then it also has to, do some gravitational mumbo jumbo. So, right. Which I don't know. But I mean, that's awesome, right? I mean, that's kind of a cognitive surplus kind of thing, right? Where there's people that are going home at night. That's the topic that's talked about a lot for Wikipedia. Why do people edit Wikipedia? Well, because they're experts and they want to. Why do people retrieve satellites from space that are long lost? Well, because they're nerds and they want to, right? They want to get this done.
Exactly.
And it's awesome. So I think the campaign's over, but we should probably be seeing more about this as updates come out and stuff like that. Yeah,
I'm surprised that the suits didn't that the lawyers didn't take over here and go, no, we can't let unqualified civilians do operate a spacecraft with a motor. Because why?
Turns into
because
it's
a freaking projectile, right? It's a freaking projectile. If you project the thing back to the Earth, right? If you shoot it back towards the Earth,
no, come on, man. What's going to make it through the atmosphere, right? I mean,
well, would it? I don't know.
I don't think
Skylab did.
Yeah, but that thing was huge. And wasn't that in the low Earth orbit to start with?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't going as fast, you're saying.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I'm sure. Well, first off, I'm sure that it's not like NASA's a bunch of dolts, right? I'm sure that they did the calculations too. It's well, we don't have money for this, and might as well. Plus, that's good PR for them. So.
Yeah. Right.
That's. I don't know. That's just a cool project, though.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So that's good.
That's great.
We're happy to see stuff like that around here. Big space fans around here. What was the other thing I wanted to bring up? Historical stuff in terms of bringing old stuff home. TI is auctioning off.
Oh God!
The Jack Kilby's microchip prototype. So.
What?
Yeah.
Are they desperate for cash?
I know, right? Well, and we should also bring up here. So this is the much talked about. Who did the first microchip, right? So Bell Labs did the first transistor, correct? Or the first silicon germanium transistor. I don't even remember which one it was, but that was Bell Labs that did the discrete one. And then it's between TI and maybe Fairchild. I forget who the other ones. They always fight over who actually did the microchip. It was how you actually defined it and stuff like that. But yeah, so Christie's auction house will be auctioning off this $1 to $2 million prototype.
That's the estimate of what they'll get for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't wait to see. I mean, who buys that, right? I mean, is it going to be like Elon Musk throwing some weight around here, or is this going to be like the Computer History Museum? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Jeez.
The other weird thing is it's part of the lot.
Should we start a crowdfunding campaign to buy it?
Yeah, we should be able to buy that. We can make T-shirts,
Right. Oh boy.
I don't even know what would you do with it then. It's all right, well, now we've got
paperweight.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Really light paperweight.
Oh boy. Yeah, I don't know. Why? Do they? Is there any hint of why they're selling it?
No, I was joking that it must be they must be running out of money, but I don't think TI's running out of money. So,
but somebody in the company, presumably, that'd be the CEO making it have to sign off on that.
Oh
right?
Yeah, probably.
Or did someone?
Unless it's
or did someone sitting down in? Or did somebody sitting down in archives go, what's this? I don't know. We should I should auction it off. And shit is currently hitting the fan. At TI.
Right.
Because what?
Showing up on eBay.
That just baffles me. Why they would sell it?
Yeah.
Strange. Anyway. Yep.
Well, I don't know, man. What else you got going on? You got anything else going on?
No, not really. I got to
labs almost set up.
Finish sort of. No. I've got to build shells for my streaming PC. I've got to wire everything in permanently. I've got to move my lights, as I said. I should have moved my lights when I moved in, and I realised it was a problem.
Yeah.
You know, lights bouncing off products I'm actually reviewing. But yeah, it's still going to be an issue. It's just at the moment I can't use my Tegano microscope because the lights are directly above it. You know, they're direct. So even though it's got its own light built in, I get the reflection of anything I'm viewing under that microscope from the overhead lights.
Right.
So I just have to move it if I want to use that expensive microscope I've got. So, yep. Bummer.
Definitely.
It's a pain in the ass. You got to get up there. You got to do messy stuff. You know. I've got my ladder. I had to bring my ladder into the lab, and I'm going to get my head up there, and I've got to saw. You know, I've got to saw the acoustic tiles up. And you're right. Yeah. Got to get my hands dirty.
Yeah.
You know? Oh boy. Yep.
Well, cool, man. I know how it feels to have be at home in a lab now. It's an important feeling.
That's probably set up and optimized to your use. You know, the more I optimize and do things properly rather than just getting by, you know, the ultimately the happier I am. You know, I've got like real shelving now, and that's made a difference. It's like, well, why didn't I do that when I first moved into the lab 2.5 years ago?
Right, yeah.
You know, like it's just no, because I'm a tight ass, and I just thought, oh yeah, I can get by.
Yep.
You know, by shoving stuff under the bench or on the floor or whatever. You know, and it's just it's just ridiculous. You know. So,
well, now
sometimes it pays to do things properly, even though it's expensive and you may not be able to justify it. You know, it might be hard to justify in actual return on investment terms.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's practically impossible for me to justify. You know, like when I bought my $1,500 camera. How can I justify this? People are still going to watch regardless of the quality of my video, right? And you know, like I've got my new acoustic tiles around here, right? And it makes jack all difference to people who are going to my income, right? So I spend all this money on acoustic tiles and everything else. No one's going to care. I spent money on lights. No one's going to care.
Yeah,
right? It's just really subtle stuff.
Well, it's like an R&D budget, right? You know, you have to kind of just have faith that it'll come back someday.
Right.
I always chuckle when I hear like executives getting hold of R&D budgets, and they're like, "Well, we need to see results here, right?" And it's like,
right, for each instrument,
I think you're missing the point. You know, like research. You know, yes, you can try and keep people on track, and that's important, and keep people moving forwards. But like, if you expect a specific return on research, you're no longer doing research.
Right.
You know.
Yep. All basic stuff. I had one, tight-ass penny-pinching manager at one point, running the production facility. And we, if we wanted a second multimeter, right, we had to do a thorough justification for why we, wanted the extra $100 multimeter.
Yeah,
it's like,
right.
Oh, for goodness sake, just buy 10 of them and just scatter them around everywhere so that we've got one available everywhere.
Right.
It's hard to justify. You wanted us to do a full case study of why we wanted the
right.
Well,
and then your $100 multimeter ends up costing $1,500 just for all the people that have to put time into that report, right?
$1,500, that'd be cheap.
Yeah, probably,
by the time we got through with it, right?
Yeah.
And it's just ridiculous.
You pay for typing classes to let you type up faster, But that's another $300.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't miss those days at all.
Yeah, I'm getting there too. But now you're your own manager, so you gotta make those decisions on your own.
Yeah,
now it's
and I'm slowly realizing that
right.
I need to do things properly.
Yeah.
not half-assed.
Yeah, it only took you 20 years or so, right? 20 years in the business to figure out.
To figure that out. Yeah.
Yep.
But even then, I'm still doing it half-assed. You know, it's still my engineering tendency to sort of not go overboard.
Yeah. Right.
You know, I'm not going to go out and buy a $10,000 camera.
Right.
Right. I'm not going to go out and buy studio lights. I'm not going to go out and hire someone to edit my videos and work on site. You know, I'm not going overboard like that.
Usually when I meet hardware people, if the topic of money comes up, I almost always ask if they're cheapskate, and I'm like 10 for 10. Like it's scary.
Yeah, every time.
Every time. And it's because we spend so much time shopping for parts, and optimizing for that crap, and it's like, how can...
and it follows over into every other aspect of your life,
Oh, it's a sickness. Yeah. It's a sickness.
It is. Is there anyone out there? Are there any viewers that aren't like that?
Yeah.
That are just so spendthrift, they're so broke because they just go out and buy.
Well, they have to be hardware people too, because you talk to software people and they're like, "Oh no, well I know it'll come back at some point." Like they're very different. And it's interesting too, is hearing people kind of transition over in either direction as well. And I don't know what it is. It's just, if there's any psychology students out there as well, I've got a thesis for you that'll be a whopper.
You could, you could do a PhD thesis on that.
Yep, exactly.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we should probably go work on our theses and leave these good folks to their their workings. Right. All of our listeners out there.
Right.
All right, man. Well, all right. I'll also be working on scheduling guests. That's another thing. Been pretty terrible.
So next week it's just us again because we have to keep up the rotation.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't really know yet.
Yeah.
I'm terrible.
That's cool.
All right, man. See you next week.
Catch you next time. Oh, this was our 200th show.
It was. Happy 200, man.
Yeah. You get less for murder.